Welcome to another edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. I am KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review, local name Global Perspective, streaming live on Roku, courtesy of the BS3 Network, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and of course YouTube, where many of my Roundball Review supporters follow me and support me on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. Once again, thanks very much to AJ Jones for trusting me with the keys to the kingdom. He's a brave man sometimes to let me ride like this on Thursdays on the lunch break. Throwback Thursday. I'm doing it again. Reminder, the show is available on the BS3 network. It's also available on Roku. Yes, this show is streaming live on Roku. If you don't have BS3, go to bs3network.com or, of course, simply download the app on Roku and watch me and my shiny bald head and my four eyes give it to you straight, as I only know how to do it. Wise citizens, thank you very much. Got a lot to discuss, man, so much. And my colleague, my brother, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, will be joining me in a few minutes. He got called into an emergency meeting at the last minute. Well, obviously, if it's an emergency. So once that's done, he is hoping to join me, and we'll get a different perspective with Doc. He is the dean of HBCU sports, and he and I go back a long way as part of the KG Fifth Ward Wildcat and Doc podcast. But there's so much to talk about. First things first, this is, as far as I know, not obsolete. So I'm going to post this pic of the slide of the Houston Cougars men's basketball games in Australia. 2 of the 4 games are scheduled, slated, possibly, perhaps, to be available on YouTube. The links posted are courtesy of the uhcougars.com website. So keep that in mind. I said for a while there are a minimum of 2 of the 4 games would be available streaming, maybe as many as 3. I know for certain that the game against the Australian national team will not be streamed. So you see, there's a 15-hour time difference between H-Town and Australia. So the game times there are H-Town times. East All-Stars is not the Sydney Hawks, but it's the gym, I think, where the Sydney Hawks play, supposedly. The Australian national team against NBA players, that won't be streamed. The Frankston Blues is an NBL level team. I'm not sure which level, but NBA level team. No streaming for that one. And then the Australia select team is the 17 and 18-year-olds, roughly, that is equivalent to what the USA basketball team, select team, featuring the likes of Chet Holmgren, Jalen Duren, Kate Cunningham, going against the older NBA vets and getting them ready for the upcoming World Cup, which takes place in the end of August. And times have changed so much that I'm not even concerned about the World Cup. A few years ago, I lived, died for the World Cup, watching FIBA events and international competition. Now, yeah, whatever. But that's part of it. Miss Wanda, I hope you're able to watch on YouTube or Facebook. If so, let me know. Give me a comment. She is a tried and true supporter of the Roundball Review, and she's also one of the folks who bought Houston Roundball Review T-shirts. I'm wearing one now, the sunshine color. I'll pan down a little bit there. Houston Roundball Review, y'all know it is. Local name, Global Perspective. Click on that shop button, get you a T-shirt, get you a Roundball Review mug. There she is, the queen of the Houston Roundball Review. Going to give her some shine. Yes, she is the newly crowned queen of the Houston Roundball Review, a true loyal supporter in a short time. She's been very loyal. She's told me that she's talked so much about the Houston Roundball Review and the content that I provide and Andy and Willie provide that some other alums think that she's on the payroll. So I wish I had a payroll, but I don't have payroll yet. But I'm going to continue to hit that rock, and maybe one day I will have a payroll and have employees and staff to help continue covering not just the Cougs, not just the Rockets, but Rice, TSU, other schools in the American, schools in the SWAC, schools in the Big 12 where the Cougs are a part of. But it sounds like it won't be any schools in the Pac X. And I say Pac X because I'm not sure what's going to be left of it. It's not Pac 9. Yeah, Brother Gibson, that's a goal, my man. You know that's a goal. That's a goal. Willie Gibson chiming in via Facebook. It's a goal. One day we touched on it in the Folks Talking Sports. One day I hope to get to for us to get to that level where Willie and or Andy say, hey, I got a trip, want to cover so and so and whatever, Italy. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't matter. And I'll just say to them, all right, well, it's in the budget. Do your thing, get the work in, and give me updates, and let's keep it moving. That's what I like to take the Houston Roundball Reviews to get to that point, because after all, it has a global perspective. But Brother Gibson, chime in via Facebook, because we touched on a little bit a few days ago on Folks Talking Sports about the Pac X. This was days after Colorado announced they were going to return to the Big 12. Now, after Tuesday's, what should I call Tuesday's meeting? Tuesday's underwhelming meeting of Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff and the president's bigwigs of the Pac X. The numbers he presented, the deal he presented to them was majority, almost entirely a streaming deal. Not much linear programming, not much linear distribution. And the numbers weren't that high. Projected revenue payouts per school was roughly minimum, $20 million per school. And some early reports were as high as $30 million, 31 high as the Big 12 payouts. According to Jason Shear, if you don't follow, Jason Shear of Wildcat Authority on 247 Sports has done a great job of keeping everybody informed with accurate information. Accurate information, that's key. He and one or two other folks I trust regarding this realignment have been on it almost from the jump, from the beginning. Jason Shear wrote last night that the numbers on the high end, the estimations are only $24 million per school. What does that mean, Kris? What does that mean, Brother Gibson? What does that mean, Wanda? It indicates that Arizona State, and Utah are getting closer to leaving the Pac X and joining the Big 12. How soon? Maybe as early as August 4th. Meeting, I think Arizona's having a meeting later on this evening to discuss it, go over details, further details, and if they agree to it, they may have an announcement about leaving the Pac X and joining the Big 12. The numbers, the monetary figures, they were never going to be great. Folks who follow me, Willie and Andy on Folks Talking Sports, we've talked about this weeks and months ago, that the numbers would not be great, would not be equivalent to the Big 12, let alone that pie in the sky. How should I be? I'll be nice. That pie in the sky number that Kliavkoff put out there months ago, that the Pac-12 numbers, the next media deal would be close to the Big 10. I mean, that's at minimum $50 million per school. No one outside of his little green-colored sky world believed that the the Pac-12 numbers are going to be anywhere close to the Big 10. As Willie's response here indicates, no one thought that. Fast forwarding now to August, the numbers range between 20 and 24 million per school. Well, that's 40% and not quite half of his initial 50 million pie in the sky dream. Good on him, but he is going to be in charge of a conference, a dying conference. It's a dead conference moving. It's trying to rearrange chairs on the deck of the Titanic. So I'm not sure what will happen, but Arizona State for a long, long time, and Utah, long, long time. No, 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 no. We are loyal to the Pac-12. We are not going to leave the Pac-12. Ooh, the Big 12. Ooh, we're not. No, no, no. They're beneath us. No, no, we're not going to do that. How dare they even consider us wanting to entertain joining that conference? Pshaw. Saw those numbers. What, $20 million? What? That's all it is? Oh, what's Brett Yormark's number? Oh boy, I hope he said I hasn't blocked us yet. Oh. Hi, Brett. Hey, how you doing? This is Arizona State, Utah. You still want to talk to us about opening, have open arms for us to join the conference? Yeah, I think we can work that out. Boy, money talks, and BS walks. But yes, it's amazing how quickly things change once they were presented with some numbers. Even though for a long, long time, anyone outside of their little windows, their rose tinted windows, whatever, no one thought the numbers were going to be as comparable to the Big 12. No one. Well, no, that's not true. Willie Gibson knows that's true. There were some Pac 12 beat writers that kept hammering. Oh, yeah, the numbers are going to be better than the Big 12. Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. Wrong. And then they now see those numbers. Yeah, okay. But the question I have, because it's not done, apparently, with this realignment, and once Dr. Cavil joins, assuming his meeting ends in no time for him to pop on today's show of the lunch break, the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Roku, courtesy of the BS3 network. Why all this realignment? All of it is because of college football. All of it. I'm not a college football guy. I watch it. I have anything else to watch on TV, I'll watch it. I'm a basketball guy. The fascination America has with college football, hell, football, knows no bounds, and apparently knows no bounds. Look at what this fascination, this lust affair with college football is doing to semi-pro. Some folks still cling to that notion of amateur athletics. Give me a break on that one. Big 12 may become the Big 16. Probably still keep the branding of the conference name as Big 12. The Pac-12 is the Pac-X. May become the Pac-6 if and when Arizona State, Arizona, and Utah join Colorado and go to the Big 12. Talk of Oregon and Washington may perhaps get their wish, their dream come true to join the Big 10 for even not a full share, maybe half a share, 3/4 of a share. That's still more than they would get in the Pac-X. So what's left of the Pac-X? Who is it? Oregon State, Washington State. If Cal and Stanford don't go, so what's left? Is just Cal and Stanford and Washington State and Oregon State? They can just join with the Mountain West, merge with the Mountain West. They want to do that. Or I know what conference has more payout than the Mountain West? The American Athletic Conference. Just put it out there. There's so much going on with college realignment. Some folks thought it was dead. No. Then shift to the East. ACC. Florida State Wednesday said being stuck in this current deal in the ACC would be a board of trustee, last name Roth, said, death of 1,000 cuts. Death of 1,000 cuts if we stay in the ACC with the current revenue distribution model. We cannot continue in this conference with a $30 million per year gap between this conference and the Big Ten and SEC. All right, that's nice to say. It's factual. But where are you going to go? Where is this money going to come from for you to first pay an exit fee, which initial reports I think are $120 million to the ACC, and then all the lawyers? It sounds like Florida State's lawyers are different than Longhorns' lawyers and the Sooners' lawyers, and that they believe that they can get out of the grant of rights deal that they have with the ACC, which still has 13 years left on it. Grant of rights deal means the team's media rights, logos, all those things stay with the conference, stay with the ACC. So if FSU got an invite to the Big Ten, SEC, and they were unable to win their legal battle regarding the grant of rights, all that stuff stays with the ACC. So unless you're certain you're going to win your grant of rights, Florida State will owe exit fee and a grant of rights. That's hundreds of millions of dollars. But yeah, they're talking big and bad now. Yeah, we can't stay in. We got to get out of here. Things don't change. Where are you going to go? T.I., you see it. Willie, you see it. Wanda, you see it. ESPN is having layoffs. They're reducing some expenses. So how are they going to pay for more schools? And it's a great point. Willie, chime in with this one. I'm going to toss this out. Why would ESPN pay Florida State more money than what they're paying Florida State as a current member of the ACC to go to the SEC? Why would ESPN say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. We're going to do that. Well, we're paying you $30 million now, and we go to the SEC, we're going to pay you $60." That's bad business. Why would they do that? So it's so much going on with semi-pro sports. It's not amateur sports. This is not student athletes. It's student assets. That's what they have been for a while. But it's centered around football. Someone please explain to me, please explain to me why there cannot be simply mega conferences for only college football. Why do the other sports have to be involved in the travel logistics for this move? Because it's just because of football, college football. You want to have super conferences? Fine, have them for just college football. And go back to regional conferences for baseball, volleyball, swimming, diving, golf, wrestling. Some conferences don't have wrestling for schools that have wrestling teams right now. Going to a new conference, you don't have that. Then what are they going to do? All of these discussions are because of football. I know it. College football makes the world of college sports go round. I know that. I understand that. I've known it for a long time. But the travel involved, flying back and forth, wanting to be a national conference, a 4-time zone conference, which is what Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark still is an aspiration for the Big 12 to be a 4-time zone conference. Brother Gibson, I think Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, we're talking about mountain time zone schools who could play late games sometimes, but they're not in the Pacific time zone. So that still does not solve or make Commissioner Yomark's dream come true of being a 4 time zone conference. Am I right? I think I'm right on that. I know daylight saving time is not observed in parts of Arizona and things like that, but is that what he's going to count as being a 4th time zone? Is that where we are? And keep in mind this scenario. If Arizona State, Arizona, and Utah decide to go to the Big 12, that's 16 teams for the Big 12. UConn would not be part of that discussion anymore. So the goal of having UConn part of a Big 12 basketball elite would end for the time being, because I'm not putting any expansion ideas past anybody going forward. Stuff has changed so quickly in these weeks that who knows what's going to happen. 2 weeks ago, Utah, heck, last week, Utah said, no, we're not going to the Big 12. No, we're not going to the Big 12. Not going to do it. Not happening. We're going to die on this hill with the Pac-12. Then he finally saw some numbers. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. We got to look out for our best interest and do what's best for our student athletes going forward. Oh, lo and behold. But even all that, the revenue gap between the Big 12 and the SEC and Big 10 is still massive. It's still massive. What, at least $30, $40 million per school per year? So far, yeah, I know Florida State's already said it many times, especially in the last few days, many times. You haven't heard any schools from the Big 12 decrying, oh my gosh, there's a $30 million revenue gap per year for us. We can't stay in this conference. We have to do what's best for us. We cannot stay in the Big 12. Yet. Wanda, how soon do you think Chris Pesman will say, boy, the difference in revenue that we're getting between us as a Big 12 member and the Big 10, it's just too much. It's too much. We cannot do this. We cannot stay in the Big 12. We have to, there's got to be a different revenue model for us in order to survive. Oh, Paris, we can't live on just $35 million, $40 million in media rights. We can't do it. We need to have the $70 million or $100 million that they're getting from the Big 10. We can't. We can't do that. How are we supposed to live? How can we function as a university, as an athletic department, on just these mere peanuts? That's what Florida State sounds like right now. We can't. And their football team hasn't done squat for 15 years on a national championship elite competition level. But it's amazing how times have changed, how people change, values change. But at some point, thank you, Miss Wanda, at some point, and yes, obviously, in terms of national football brands, the University of Houston does not compare to Florida State. Clearly. But we do know, Houston fans know, that the last time those two teams squared off, which team won? And that loss by Florida State really began the downward spiral for that football program. That butt whipping they took and received courtesy of the Cougars, Florida State really hasn't been the same since. They finally had a good year this past season. So all those things are on the table. News to share, I think the UH football is having the media availability right about the same time. And since I've been added to the football mailing list, I'm now receiving that information, the schedules and all of that. But here I'm on the lunch break. with you guys watching me on Roku or YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. But the UH Athletics announced this bit of news earlier today. They hired Alvin Franklin. Yes, Alvin Franklin. Not the Alvin Franklin, who was part of the UH men's basketball Phi Sigma Gamma teams back in the 80s, but a younger Alvin Franklin has been hired as the Senior Associate Athletics Director for Development, Executive Director of Development, pending final university. That's going to happen. Okay. Franklin will oversee the day-to-day operations and provide administrative supervision of Cougar Pride, Houston Athletics fundraising arm. He will also implement and manage Houston's major gifts and premium seating programs, focusing on large contributions. Alvin Franklin comes from Mississippi State. That's an SEC program. So the Cougs hired somebody from the SEC. Willie Gibson? How about that? Little old Houston hired somebody from the big bag SEC. How about that? Wish him well. He played baseball at Jackson State and HBCU. So yes, he's got two master's degrees. So salute to him. Look forward to meeting Mr. Franklin. And I'm sure he'll hear a few times, if he hasn't already, in his meetings during the hiring process. Hey, we had an Alvin Franklin play basketball way back when. That kind of stuff. I'm sure he's heard all that, and he'll hear it even more. But salute to him. It's good that Houston is making some staff changes, adding some positions. They're trying to get ready and adjust to life in a Power 5 conference, life in the Big 12. So salute to him. I'm going to take a quick break to remind everybody that you are indeed watching The Lunch Break. I'm in charge today on this edition of Throwback Thursday, which is the Houston Roundball Review takeover of The Lunch Break, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and of course on Roku, courtesy of the BS3 Network. And I'm going to give you an example of what BS3 Network is all about, changing the way you watch TV.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to this edition of the Houston Roundball Review takeover of The Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. I am KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. You're watching this edition of Throwback Thursday. Thank you to my man AJ Jones for letting me share my thoughts with you during this hour, roughly 55 minutes on Thursdays, talking sports and a little bit more with you on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and Roku on the BS3 Network. Hopefully I have not received word from him that he's not going to make it. Hopefully in the next few moments, the Dean of HBCU Sports, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, will be joining me to discuss the business side of college sports. That's one of the things Doc is famous for, sports business as well as HBCU sports. Because I got a few questions to ask him, and some of the answers will surprise you. Yes, I know, obviously, the answer to these questions, but I want Doc to share them with you regarding season tickets, sold attendance, and how many FCS programs sell more tickets than a certain local program. But I digress. Tuesday, August 1st, the Houston Cougars men's basketball team had their red and white scrimmage. Brother Gibson, if you're still watching, got a comment. This clip is a reminder that Coach Kelvin Sampson does not shy away from giving folks verbal haircuts, including me. Okay? So this is a brief clip. I asked Coach Sampson about Juwan Roberts, who did not participate in the red and white scrimmage because Juan left foot is in a walking boot. So I asked Coach Sampson how Juan is doing and the severity of the injury. Check this out.
Coach,
somebody can break the ice.
See you, Juan in a boot. What's his status with that?
Sorry?
Juwan in the boot. J1 in a boot.
If we had a game night, he would have played. He'll play Monday. We play. So.
Nothing serious?
No. But the game tonight, he'll play. That means it's not serious.
That means it's not serious. If we had a game night, he'd play. At least he was smiling, so you know he was just giving me some stuff. But yes, Willie Gibson. Just remember your time when Coach Sampson joined us on the lunch break, and he kind of buzzed you. You're not alone. He does it to all of us. So no worries whatsoever about that. But yes, Juwan Roberts, he told me before I asked Coach, I already knew the answer really, that he was good. It was just precaution. He rolled his foot, rolled the ankle in practice, and he was good to go for the upcoming trip in Australia. So just keep it in mind. I wanted to share that for everyone in case you missed it. I have that clip as a YouTube short. It's also been posted on Instagram at Houston Roundball Review, and of course on Threads at Houston Roundball Review, and on Facebook. I've shared it on all those platforms as well. So you got the idea. A few of the clips are posted as shorts. Jamal Shed, ask him, see if I can pull it up because it's going to be a little different. Let me see if I can do it real quick here. Let's see. Jamal is getting candid in his aging years as he is in his fourth year at Houston. Let's see. Here we go. All right, I asked Jamal about his thoughts on how the scrimmage went, and then he was asked about what the Cougs will face in Australia.
What are your thoughts on the scrimmage?
I think we got a lot to improve on, but overall our effort was there. We just got to get in shape.
Well, what do you think just now going to Australia, some of the competition that you made, good chance to see where you guys are as a team, going into the season?
We're either going to fight back and give guys a really good game, or the pros are going to kick our ass. So we got to go in with the right mindset and just get ready to go out there and defend and play hard.
Have the right mindset, or the pros are going to kick our ass. I can say that now on this platform as opposed to the radio station where AJ used to have the lunch break. That was a religious station, so we couldn't say those kind of words. But hey, this is streaming now on Roku and YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. But yes, the pros that Jamal Sher was referring to are the Australian national team, including guys like Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey, one of the up-and-coming young guards in the NBA. Josh plays for the OKC Thunder, and young fella can do a little bit of everything. So he is should be the starting point guard for the Australian national team. The Cougs are facing them If you missed it earlier, that matchup will not be available for streaming, but they're going to face them August 9th, 7 p.m. Houston time. There's a schedule. Tentatively, there are two of the other three games are available for streaming. Some initial reports said all three of those games would be streamed. Right now, it's two. It's in a state of flux. I'm not even sure if those two will be streamed, but they are listed on the Cougar website in the schedule. So as of now, two of the four games of the Cougs opponents in Australia will be streamed on YouTube. The link is, like I said, on uscougars.com, as well as in the article I posted on my website at HoustonRoundballReview.com and also the HRR.com. Before we take a break, I want to mention this. Got this news courtesy. Good afternoon, Mr. Ben Sutter. How are you? Courtesy of the BS3 Network, the platform making possible to stream the lunch break on Roku, the BS3 Network. And if you don't have BS3 on Roku, download the app. Or just go to BS3Network.com. Thank you very much, as always, for your support and your comments. I appreciate it. One day we're going to meet face-to-face. Had a chance, missed out at the Big 12 Football Media Day because you had a prior commitment that you could not get out of, which was understood. But this slide is courtesy of RCS Sports, the number one source of high school basketball, boys and girls, more and more girls basketball, but an inaugural kickoff classic. Got to ask Hicks why he said kickoff and not tip-off. But girls hoops at Del Mar Fieldhouse. Matchups taking place November 4th at Del Mar, starting at 10 o'clock. Bel Air versus Dulles. 11:30, Lamar versus Dickinson. 1 p.m., Humble versus, yes, Humble, not Humble, Humble versus Cy Creek. 2:30, C.E. King versus Memorial. 4 o'clock, Shadow Creek versus Clearbrook. Wrapping it up, 5:30 matchup, Summer Creek versus Grand Oaks. Tickets will be available via the RCS Sports website, and that will be launched on September 1st. So tickets to this event, this Girls High School Classic High School, will be available beginning September 1st. Game taking place at Del Mar Fieldhouse. And without further ado, Brother Cavil, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. All right. Going to bring him in these closing moments. I'm going to try to bring him in. My man, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. Doc, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Doing well,
First,
my man.
Let me say, man, I'm proud of what you putting together, man. This is exciting, man. I'm hearing breaking news that you're doing from all this conference churning. I know we're going to talk a little bit about HBCUs, but I just had to put that out there, man. You're on fire, man. You're getting it done, brother.
I appreciate it, Doc. I'm trying to be like you, man. We're all trying to follow in the footsteps of the Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper. So that's what we learn from. We just gotta continue pressing forward. Let's get into it. Doc,
very true.
I touched on it. Folks might not know this. Which conference has led FCS in attendance, football attendance?
That is the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
And how many years has it in a row has that been, Doc?
But 1 year. In the 1 year they didn't lead it since they've been keeping that record for 30 plus years was the year that we had Hurricane Katrina. And you understand what that did to this region, which obviously embodies the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And that was the only year they did not lead in attendance.
And what was the average attendance
The average attendance was over 20,000 for most of those years. It fluctuates, give plus and minus 2%. But there are some outliers in regards to classic games that have over 50,000. Some of them have topped over 60,000, namely the Magic City Classic that features Alabama A&M and Alabama State. The Bayou Classic that I'm sure a lot of people are probably familiar with name, which is Southern and Grambling. Now with the expansion, you also have the Florida Classic, which is between FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. With the oldest member in the conference, Prairie View, you have the State Fair Classic, which includes Grambling State in Dallas. And then you have one unique classic that was the Southern Heritage Classic. When I say was, I'm saying it used to have a featured member in Jackson State. It had a institution outside of the SWAC, Tennessee State. But now Jackson State has moved out of that classic, but the team that replaced them is Arkansas Pine Bluff, which is also in the SWAC. So it'll be fascinating to see if that classic continue to have over 50,000 fans in attendance in that. And then you have some home teams like Jackson State that top the individual conference leaders and over multiple years. They might trade spots here and there with Montana, if you would, but they're usually certainly top three, oftentimes number one, as they were the last couple of years, topping over 30,000 fans, average attendance, which is much higher than some FBS programs out there, G5, and even some Power 5 people may be shocked about.
Say that one more time, Brother Cavil. Say that one more time.
Certainly. When you talk about Jackson State's attendance, I actually did a research presentation on that, and we looked at it before prime and post prime, because some people will have that associated with prime, and it went up. It went up about 20-some%, from about 27,000 to like 31, 32,000. But even before prime, if you would, they had significant attendance and led the nation. And that 27,000 average attendance, certainly the 32,000 over the last 2 years in terms of what it increased to, it led FCS, but people may not realize that it was higher than many FBS programs, including those G5 programs. And some people may be stunned, as I said, that it is higher than some of the Power 5 member conferences' individual average home attendance.
And I'm going to say this, Wanda, that includes our alma mater, the University of Houston. So keep that in mind. So that was before Houston joined the Big 12.
Yes, it does. I was not going to bring that up because you're a friend of mine, but I know you like to stand on your
facts
truth.
Are facts. Yeah, that's right. I stand on the truth. So we'll see how the Big 12 will wave the magic wand, if it will improve, how much it improves Houston's season ticket numbers going forward now that Houston is a part of the Big 12. Because it's supposed to be the elixir.
Yeah.
It's the reason why UH alums did not go to games when the Cougs were in the American, because of the opponents. Oh, who's the Cougs playing? Who are the Cougs playing? Okay, well, now the Cougs are going to be in the Big 12. So let's see if the numbers increase to 30,000 plus on average, 32, et cetera, going forward. Mr. Willie Gibson in Ohio, an Ohio State alum, is probably shaking his head like, bro, 30,000, that's all y'all get? But, well, don't even get that. But, but that is the goal for Kris Pesman, the VP of Athletics. Dr. Cavil, help me understand this, Doc. Is it possible for there to be football-only conferences in college on the D1 level or the FBS level? Is it possible to just have football-specific conferences?
Yes, theoretically it can be done. There's some NCAA guidelines that you have to be careful of in regards to the most recent ruling that the NCAA had, as you had these FCS programs seeking to move up to the FBS level. coming that was a mixture of the WAC and previously the Atlantic Sun, that they were going to form this new conference where the football members would be FBS. There are rules that preclude that, so they would have to get sanctioned to do that. Now, theoretically, you could have a conference that operates at the FCS with, in terms of football teams, but have sports, if you would, in another conference. So there's some hybrid things that you may be able to get away technically that you hear some of the ADs, if you would, even commissioners trying to push out there. But theoretically right now, basically from an NCAA proposal, no. Finite where you just have a sole FBS conference just housing teams, the NCAA precludes that.
Okay, so it's an NCAA in the
You
bylaw.
can do it in basketball. You can't do it in football.
Okay,
That's
see,
correct.
that's interesting. What are your thoughts on, I think, the inevitability of super conferences in football? Well, hell, really super conferences, but it's because of football. I'm talking 20, 24 member conferences, which really are two conferences
Yeah,
matched together.
I can see where you're going with that, and I've heard them talk about that, and it makes some sense. But just because you can't do it based on NCAA rules now, the programs that you're talking about, the Power Five that will control it, that always try to get all the legislative rules, they control, 95% of the legislative platform, so it's not like they couldn't change the rules.
Do you
It's
do you
just
think
a
that's
rule. Bylaw,
going to
you get
happen?
votes, you change it. Yeah.
Yeah, you think it's going to happen in the near
Yeah,
future?
I wouldn't be surprised. I could see it in some format. I think one thing that we have to be careful with, though, with these conferences, that another thing they could do as well is just put the Olympic sports in divisions and just play in divisions and crown division championships, and then have a pool for postseason type tournament where you invite teams in. So I don't think that precludes that as well, particularly when you get into Olympic sports. And so I know there's some concerns that folks seeing Olympic sports, if you would, fly cross country, and you hear people talk about, cross country meet. Well, cross country meet tends to be in a central location, and it's only run so often, but you run regional cross country matches that allow you to qualify for your conference meet. So I don't see travel as a big deal as you see people concerning in regards to these conferences exploding across the country. Now, I have some issues in regards to the financial wealth that these conferences are building, and none of that wealth going back to the athletes that are generating, and they're just spending it either on conference coaches, commissioners, ADs, to some degree even presidents, and not spending it on the athletes building elaborate facilities. They could use that money and just pay the athletes. Now, I do think these Power Five schools that are coming together, that they're going to see that the money explodes so much that they're going to get to the point where it won't be a concern of them, and they'll just pay the athletes. They'll have the money to do that. And they'll get to the point where you'll see athletes on contracts to some format, and they'll negotiate holistically around that. And so I do see that in the near future coming, maybe the next 5, certainly 10 years.
How many schools do you think would be a part of that? Who could afford it?
I think if you're in one of these Power 2, maybe Power 3 conferences, whether it's 18, 20, 24, even, wildly as that may sound, even 32. I can see all those members in the conferences that can afford it, because the contract they're going to get for television is going to be multi-billion dollars. So
Okay.
as long as they distribute that among the institutions that are among those 2-3 conferences, you'll be fine. And I think that's what you're seeing is an economic platform of consolidation, where big businesses just come together and they buy out other businesses and they grow. And because they grow, now they can demand a different price from the marketplace in terms of what they bring in, but then they can charge what they want to be competitive. And so I do see a framework where essentially the top schools will come together to form these conferences such that they can unify, and they have more of what you see an NFL format with 64 total teams in 2-3 different divisions, conferences, or whatever you want to break it down. And then they just find a way to divvy up the money appropriately within those member institutions. Now, everybody else would be shut out. And they'll be smart enough to make sure that it is across the American landscape, so they have regional attainment of different regions so they can take advantage of the media markets. The media companies are going to make sure that everybody's involved because they can't afford to have regions left out to be able to retain the money that they're going to pay to these conferences.
How would that impact, if at all, HBCUs?
How would it impact? I missed the last part of it. I'm sorry.
How would this consolidation at the big boy level impact HBCUs?
Now, that's a really important question to me as an HBCU researcher. And I think there's two ways it can go. It can really become a problem because the NCAA, to some degree, substitutes not just HBCUs, but G5 member institutions to some degree, particularly the FCS programs, Division II programs, and Division III programs, regardless of whether they HBCUs or what I refer to historically white colleges and universities in that dichotomy. And so if the resources are removed from the NCAA, now most of those resources come from the basketball money. And I don't see much change in the basketball money because the big institutions share it. And it's such a unique platform that works in regards to all these different teams, the little guys having a chance. So as long as that money is in place, it may not have as much a detrimental effect. Now, what it will do with these institutions, though, the need to chase these institutions in terms of reinvesting your program should slow down some. The arms race, as you hear it, athletic arms race, there's a chance that that will at least slow down with the separation of these powers. I try to tell most folks that it's already separated. Now you're just going to get clear delineations, if you would. And so it's hard for me to argue with folks when they talk about as if there isn't a visible line. Hell, I think if you look at the Power Five conferences, there's a delineation clearly between those. And if you get in the conference, there's clearly a delineation between conferences. When you look at over the last 30, 40 years, there's not much change between the top 5, the top 10. Certainly, if you expand it to the 15, 20, 25, you tend to have the same 20-some schools that have done this over the last 50 years in those spaces. Obviously, when you specifically look at the Big Ten, you have Ohio State and Michigan. Yes, you might get a Wisconsin to sneak in there, sometime or not, Penn State or something like that. But essentially, it's those 4 or 5 teams. You go to the SEC, it may be 6 or 7, but essentially it's Alabama. Maybe they switch out with Auburn some years, Florida a little bit, LSU, but now it's Georgia. But it's essentially those 5, 6 schools that always control it in football that are in the argument and tend to be the ones at the end. So I think that currently exists, whether you're looking at SEC, Big Ten, the difference between ACC. Obviously, Clemson has been able to have some success. If you go further enough back, you may even be able to slide in Florida State or Miami. Then obviously Texas, Oklahoma. But it tends to, if you think about it, it's the same cyclical schools. They find a way to be at the top. So it's unique to figure out how much is that attributed to the brand, resources, and how much of that is just the way the system is developed to give you these same outcomes.
In this final minute with you, Dr. Cavil, who is your, because you do a poll as well in HBCU's major and mid-major, who is your number one team in football in HBCU or SWAC? Is it the same team, or is it one team in SWAC, one team in MEAC? Who's the best team?
Yeah, I have my top poll, and my number one team preseason that I selected is outside of the SWAC, which may surprise some people, which is North Carolina Central, the Eagles, that won the MEAC SWAC game celebration bowl, if you would. That was on ABC. They defeated Jackson State. As you could hear there, North Carolina Central is out of the MEAC. Mm-hmm. In the SWAC, though, I see a little bit of change of fortunes. The last couple of years has been Jackson State. They have a huge turnover in a lot of ways, but the team that has most of the things back is FAMU, and that's who I have coming out of the SWAC, and who's ranked number 2 in my poll rankings at the beginning of the season. So it's going to be fascinating. Can they get over the hump? They've been able to really play really well in the SWAC. Some would say dominate the SWAC outside of Jackson State, who has beat them the last 2 years. So the question for many people is, can they get over the hump? Fascinatingly, if you would, they play that Labor Day weekend, so we'll know pretty quick in regards who will get that head start, which is the same weekend that you have the Labor Day Classic between Texas Southern and Prairie View, which is fascinating because both have quarterbacks coming back, but there's still a lot of questions surrounding the people. But people think those teams have got better, but many people are not necessarily seeing them coming out of the West. We'll see if things change during the year.
How can folks keep up with you on social media, Doc, as we close it out?
Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, DrKenyattaCavil. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. DrKenyattaCavil. That's Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, a live program that we do, 6 o'clock Central, Tuesday and Thursday. And during the football season in the fall, starting in late August as we kick things off, we'll do a Sunday edition where we have it at 9 o'clock. So you can catch that on Facebook Live, or if you want to go to you on demand, as we give you the latest on HBCU sporting news, mainly at the FCS level, but also at the Division II. We do the sporting HBCU dashboard, so we cover it all.
Thanks very much, Doc, and we're going to wrap it up on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. I am KG Kris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. You've been watching us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and of course on Roku on the BS3 Network. And wrapping it up, the Houston Roundball Review, since 1994, local name, global perspective. Miss Sybil Wilkes, you got it.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today, you know what it is. It's Friday Eve, y'all. It's Thursday, but Friday Eve nonetheless. August 3rd, 2023. Number 1, the judge currently assigned to preside over Donald Trump's upcoming trial on charges of trying to subvert democracy is known as a no-nonsense justice with a history of handing down tough sentences and a previous history with Donald Trump. The Associated Press reports the federal judge, Tanya Chutkan, often gave longer prison sentences than the Justice Department recommended in cases related to the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. Donald Trump is expected to appear in person at his arraignment Thursday in Washington, D.C., but he won't make his plea before Judge Chutkan since magistrate judges handle the initial matters in federal cases. Number 2, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, who rose to become one of New Jersey's most prominent black leaders and passionate advocates for revitalizing cities and against gun violence, died Tuesday after a sudden illness at the age of 71. No cause of death was given. Oliver was serving as acting governor while Governor Phil Murphy and his family were on vacation. She was the first black woman to hold statewide elective office in the state of New Jersey, winning the vote alongside Murphy in 2017 and again in 2021. Number 3. Rheumatoid arthritis, or RA, is a long-term disease that leads to inflammation of the joints and surrounding tissues. It can also affect other organs. The cause of RA is unknown, but it is an autoimmune disease, which means the body's immune system mistakenly attacks healthy tissue. Rheumatoid arthritis can occur at any age, but but it is more common in middle age. And women get RA more often than men, and early aggressive treatment for rheumatoid arthritis can delay joint destruction. Number 4. A new law in Illinois aims to give former inmates a better chance to succeed outside of prison and reduce the likelihood that they'll be sent back. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker Friday signed Senate Bill 423, a unanimously passed measure that overhauls the state's mandatory supervised release program, formerly known as parole. The new law allows for more lenient rules for supervised release regarding drug tests, shortened supervision length, and experts believe the new law will help reduce Illinois' recidivism rate, which is over 50%. Number 5, U.S. workers who self-identify as African American are less likely to discuss their personal mental health with coworkers. Additionally, they tend to feel less welcome and less valued at work than any other major racial groups. However, there are signs that the national initiative to encourage more African Americans to seek help to improve their mental health is working. Check out the What You Need to Know newsletter and our mental health and wellness contributor, Aprilette Russell, to find the details. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Confidence is not worrying if people like you. Confidence is not caring if they do or not. All right. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with our mental health and wellness contributor, Aprilette Russell, and Internet data privacy expert, Arnez Edwards, as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, the American Heart Association and Black Health Matters. And check out a celebration of Black filmmakers rooted in the HBCU culture. That's November 10th through the 12th, 2023 at Howard University's Blackburn Center. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.